else?
No, sir.
Well, alrighty. In that case, let's get down to business here. Today we're going to be talking about Critical Role episode 86. And as always, we like to launch into a recap before we get into our in-depth discussion. And we cut that recap out and host it separately on YouTube for your convenience. So if you happen to find yourself on that recap video and you want to hear our full thoughts and discussion on the episode, it will be linked down in the description below. So let me just pull up my notes here. Alrighty. So for, again, episode 86 called Doorways to Darker Depths. We pick up right where we left off with Fern having been seemingly transported to a new place altogether. After traveling through this, underwater tunnel, if you will, on Ruidus. So she actually quickly realizes that this is Exandria, I think because they can see Katha from where they are. So she can't communicate with the rest of Bell's Hells. So she decides to swim back and kind of fill them in on what she found through this portal tunnel, if you will. So the party discusses for a while, like what they should do because they are very exhausted. They need to rest. So they're like, should we rest here? Should we go through and rest over there? Like, we don't know what we're going to find over there. What if we get in a fight? So they go through this for a bit, but they ultimately decide to all travel through to Exandria together and then basically get in their mist forms to be like, have some level of safety and just investigate what's over there. So they do just that and begin to look around this lake area. And they see that there's like the small village town on kind of one of the edges of this lake, but it appears to be completely abandoned. But what's weird is like houses are still like fully furnished, like as if people just kind of like up and disappeared. Not that like the place was, intentionally abandoned. There's dust everywhere and like the plants are overgrown. So the party kind of splits up a little bit to investigate different parts of this town. And Orem and Laudna go to look for like a clerk's office or like the town hall to see if they can find some records. And they eventually find just such a building. They find some records and they realize that this place is called, and I might be mispronouncing this, Ria Duin. Haven't heard it pronounced since Thursday, so I can't remember how Matt
I
said
think it was Ryadun, I think.
Ryadun? Okay.
Or Rydun, I can't remember.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So that's the name of this place. And amongst the records, they also find that the lake is called Lake Umamu, and that there are just records of like birth certificates, death certificates, like different conflicts that happened in the town. But interestingly, they find some records about people just up and missing, like up and disappearing. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And specifically, there is record of a fishmonger saying that he saw somebody walk into the lake one night and then like wasn't seen again. And then the fishmonger himself disappeared shortly after that. So we then cut to like FCG, who has, I guess, demystified at this point, and cast Speak with Animals. Or it's not important, but I can't remember if he cast that while in mist form or not. It's not important. FCG casts Speak with Animals on a nearby bird to basically get some information about what's going on here. And the bird's like, yeah, this place has been abandoned for a long time. It's been like 5 years since I saw anybody here. So FCG asks about like, are there any monsters in the lake or anything? And the bird's like, I haven't seen anything like that, but people that do come through here do end up like going into the lake, and then I don't see them again. So the party kind of like reconvenes and discusses like, well, okay, what should we do? Like, should we rest here? There's kind of some weird vibes. Like maybe that's not the best move. And meanwhile, Imogen has collected several things from around this town to basically go give to Keyleth, so they could teleport here. Like she's doing that just in case they need something like that. And Ashton has gone to investigate like the richest house that they could find to see if there's anything there, but none of that really comes up with anything. So Chetney ultimately says like, hey, Imogen, can you just like open up your mind powers and see if like you can sense anything around here? And she doesn't feel anything. So they ultimately decide, let's go back to that nice home that Ashton had checked out and maybe just rest. And we'll see what's up after that. So they do that. A couple things happen. FCG casts Identify on some of the loot that they had taken, specifically the ring from the Will Master. And we realize that this is a ring of life awareness. that basically like sends out a signal should something happen to the wearer. So somebody out there knows that the Willmaster is dead. Um, Chetney makes a new toy that is seemingly representative of a new feat that Travis has. We don't find any more out about this right now, but presumably from his deal with Nanamori, I think. Orem then tries to contact Caleb with the Sending Stone and tells him where they are. And to everyone's surprise, the Sending Stone actually works. So Imogen actually then uses her sending spells to message Caleb and is like, "Are you okay? Like, here's what's going on. Here's where we are." And he says, "Yeah, I'm okay. I don't know why sending spells are working all of a sudden." But then like the message runs out, like the 25 word limit runs out. So Imogen then sends one to Keyleth, kind of filling her in as well, letting her know like where they think they are and briefly what they discovered while on Ruidus. And Keyleth's like, "I'm handling some business, but I'll come meet up with you like tomorrow. We can talk more." And Imogen's like, "Well, we need to go back to Ruidus. Like, there's more for us to find out. So we're gonna like leave a trail for you to where this portal is that is like a back door from Ruidus. And in the morning, we're gonna go back and like investigate more of this capital city and stuff." And so cool. But then Imogen gets a message from Jester. And she's like, "Caleb asked me to check in on you guys." And it's a fun little convo, but like not too much is revealed, if you will. They just kind of introduce each other and find out that Caleb is indeed okay. So Orem then tries the Sending Stone again to Dorian, basically like, "Hey, Dorian, are you okay?" But there's no response. But instead, Orem starts to hear something outside and he thinks it is Dorian. The party's like, "What do you mean? Like, Dorian's not outside, bro." But Orem's like convinced and he's like, "I'm going outside to look." So like Ashton gets in Orem's way and is like, "You're not going out there. Like, this is weird." But then Ashton starts to hear something and is like, "You know what? Actually, I think Dorian is out there." And he's like, "Let's go." And then FCG and Chetney also get like this weird compulsion to go outside and to look in the lake. Meanwhile, Laudna, Imogen, and Fern do not have this. And they're like, "What are you guys doing?" But they ultimately can't stop them. Laudna does send Pate out to go look, but rolls terribly, so he can't see anything. And so all the guys go start walking into the lake. And Imogen actually casts command on them to be like, "Hey, stop, turn around." But and it works on everybody except Ashton. So Ashton continues to walk into the water. The other three turn around, but as command only lasts for 1 round or 6 seconds, the three of them then turn back around and start going into the lake once more. I believe Imogen once again like reaches out with her mind and can feel another presence here, like some sort of intelligence both behind them and below them. And so she turns around and Ashton has dived underwater at this point. And that's where we go to break on the first half.
Yeah, so coming out of the break, basically Laudna, Imogen, and Fern are like, "What do we do?" And Matt does this brilliant characterization of FCG, Ashton, Orem, and Chetney just deeply needing to get to the bottom of the lake. And the way Matt describes it is like, this is where you were always meant to be. This is essentially home. Like, you need to make it to the bottom of this lake. And meanwhile, like I said, Laudna, Fern, and Imogen are like, "What can we do to stop this?" Fern's going to try a few different things. She has the idea to do Scorching Ray and is like, "Well, we're underwater." She has the idea to summon Mister, but again, it's a fire elemental underwater. Imogen, I think, casts, attacks one of them, I think, to try to break the spell. But the star moment is Laudna casts Animate Object on, I think it was like a rickety boat that was either like shipwrecked on like the dock or like on the shore or maybe even underwater. I can't remember.
Excuse me. But
yeah,
it was like a wrecked boat underneath.
Animate object on a boat and a long piece of rope, to which Matt immediately characterizes. We find out later this is all in Laudna's head, but I think their names are Bodhi and Rope, maybe?
Yeah,
I can't
Bodhi
remember.
and Ropey, I think.
Yeah,
something like that.
and just the best characters in Critical Role. And Laudna immediately assumes the role of captain and basically commands them, like, "Go get our friends." So the ship and the rope go deeper underwater. There's also another charisma saving throw that the four guys the guys at the table have to roll. 3 of them are successful. Ashton is unsuccessful. Ashton has a -2 to charisma, and 3 of them basically snap out of it, except for Ashton, who's just going deeper towards the bottom. At the bottom, they realize, like, amongst like the sand and soot and dirt, a number of skeletons, skulls, bones, things like that at the bottom. And Matt describes like almost like these tendrils, like hair, these black tendrils that are sort of like waving in the water and that essentially embrace Ashton and sort of cradle him almost like a baby, in the sense of like, this is home, like you're in the right place. We do get a really cool detail of Orem casting Misty Step, which seems to confirm that he now has the Fey Touched feat, which we'll talk about in our episode discussion, and is going to Misty Step basically to Ashton to try and attack Ashton to break Ashton out of it. And I'm trying to think what else happened in terms of them trying to get everybody out. We also get confirmation about Fern, because while they're going deeper, there's this immense cold damage that's happening from whatever this entity is at the bottom of the lake. We know that Fern talks about her chill from the grave feat that she got from the Dread Captain by giving him her warmth several episodes prior at the Shattered Teeth, and this makes her resistant to cold damage. So she's successful on a save against it, so she takes half damage, and then this, I think, gives her like a full either damage removal or half of even that. I can't remember. All that to say, Ashton does eventually snap out of it. FCG is going to cast Turn Undead, fails the first time. The second time, the creature fails, and it seemingly relinquishes its grasp on Ashton and the party, and they are basically able to finally escape, but not before Orem wants to grab one of the skulls that are at the bottom, and even gets captured himself for a brief moment before this Turn Undead is successful. They get back to the shore. Laudna has a bit of a life crisis of Bodhi and Ropey, the spell ending and them returning. She has this comment about like the frailty of life, which was just pretty funny. And they ultimately decide we need to get back to Ruidus. We need to get back to Ruidus, and we need to leave a trail for Keyleth and whoever else comes to let them know how to get to Ruidus. So they go back through the portal, back through the cave that leads back to this like seemingly like temple grounds, like deep beneath the earth of Ruidus. And it's here where they take a long rest. Before they take the long rest, a couple of things that happen. Orem is wondering why Dorian didn't respond to the Sending Stone. And then separately, Laudna steals away and has a conversation with Delilah and is like, Delilah, like, what's our end game? Like, what are we trying to do here? And Delilah's like, continue to consume items of power, continue to feed me. And then you'll be able to protect the people you love, the one you love, seemingly Imogen. I almost thought it to be like, like Ashton, right? So basically saying like, hey, if you want to protect the ones you love, we got to keep doing this thing. To which Laud is kind of like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like I'm all about it. And the party gets a long rest. They awake. They have to make a decision on if they should climb back to the very top or if they should take one of the various tunnels beneath the earth of Ruidus. They know they don't have many of the buffs that they had going into the previous day when they first snuck into Ruidus, for lack of a better phrasing. So they do ultimately decide to stick to one of the tunnels, which I can't remember what Matt described it as, like not a tunnel worm, but like what I'm talking about? Like the name, one of them's insightful to like a creature that has basically dug these tunnels.
Right.
And almost even like implies it's almost like a subway that's come through and like dug out this tunnel. They go down through this tunnel for a few hours before they finally make it to the end of a tunnel, which has collapsed in. And it's rather than going backwards, they actually have Ashton activate his Shard of Comort, where he can do his earth sliding. I can't remember the D&D, the 5e term for it. but Ashton becomes one with the earth and immediately goes into the rock and realizes that there are a number of tunnels all around them, but there is a way that he can take them all the way to the surface, which isn't far away. They go to the surface, they travel for another few hours, and once they get to a point essentially where the ground lights up like in a bright light, and it is a ruidus flare. Everyone is almost blinded by it, but they do see Fern and Imogen. Imogen actually is lifted up into the air like 20 feet, and Matt describes Fern and Imogen being in a state of total euphoria as this flare happens. He also tells the two of them that they've received 15 temporary hit points, and they also realize that likely everyone who's Ruidus born is also getting those same bonuses. One other detail that happens in this episode is they do look at the second ring that the not the Taskmaster, I can't think of her name.
The Willmaster.
The Willmaster had. It is a ring of protection. They consume it with the harness, which grants the benefit of 2 permanent hit points, which is kind of cool. And then also, I can't remember who actually consumed it.
I think it was Laudna.
Laudna gets advantage on all of her attack rolls and ability checks till the next long rest. So a boon for the day in addition to the 2 permanent hit points. They continue traveling, and they do finally see a large mountain range with a valley cut between it, and they see what seems to be the edge of the city of Kavirus, to which Chetney jokes that we're going to storm the castle and kill them all. And that is where the episode ends. Episode 86 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. So if you're watching just our recap, don't forget we have our full episode discussion. Just click the link below and let us know what you thought about the episode as well. So